This video is showing you an example of unit conversion, and specifically I want to do this unit conversion problem here. I want to convert 182 pounds into kilograms. So this is a specific example of going between the English system of measurement, looking at pounds, and the metric system, which involves grams and kilograms. To do this problem here, I'm going to first start with my strategy. So I want to look at a strategy for this problem here. And for my strategy, I'm looking how do I get from pounds to kilograms. When you're doing this step, I want you to focus on your blue reference sheet that has all the different relationships between your English and your metric units. When I look at my blue reference sheet, I can see that I do have a relationship from pounds to grams, but I don't have a direct link between pounds and kilograms. So looking at my blue reference sheet, I know that I can get from pounds to grams because I know that there's 454 grams in 1 pound. I need one more step here. So because I don't have a direct relationship between pounds and kilograms, that's my clue that I need to do this problem in more than one step. In the first step, I'm going to go from pounds to grams, and in a second step, I'm going to relate grams to kilograms using the definition of this prefix K. I'm going to get an equivalence between grams and kilograms, and this is going to be step 2. So this is my strategy for the problem. I'm going to do it in 2 steps. Before I start setting up any conversion factors, I need an equivalence for each step. And an equivalence relates those units, pounds to grams, and then I'm going to have a second equivalence that relates grams to kilograms. So I'm going to write down all my information. In step 1, I'm looking at that blue reference sheet. And I'm just copying the equivalence that's given to me as I go between the English and the metric system. I know that 1 pound is equal to 454 grams. This relationship was given to me. I also need an equivalence for step 2. I want to go between grams and kilograms. This one is a little tricky because I have to use that factor that kilo represents. So I know that kilo, K stands for kilo, and I know that that factor is 1 times 10 to the third. The tricky thing about writing this equivalence is I have to put this factor 1 times 10 to the third, or 1,000, in the correct spot. My suggestion is that I start with a kilogram, the one that has the prefix. So if I want to say how much is 1 kilogram, in place of that K on the opposite side is where I'm going to put the factor. So on this side here, I'm going to write 1 times 10 to the third. And then I'm going to keep my base unit the same. My base unit is grams. So what I want you to notice when you write your equivalences using metric prefixes is that the letter, the K, and the factor, the 1 times 10 to the third, are always on opposite sides because they mean the same thing. I can't put them together because that would be counting the same factor twice. So I have my equivalences, I have my strategy, I'm ready to start setting up my unit conversion. The place that I start is I always start with the number that's given to me in the problem. So I'm going to start with that number in front as being my 182 pounds. So I'm imagining a 182 pound person. I want to get their mass or their weight in kilograms. I'm going to start with that 182 pounds. I'm going to set up my parentheses here and I'm going to make a conversion factor. And this fraction right here represents step 1. In my strategy, I want to initially get from pounds to grams in step 1. I'm looking at my first equivalence and I'm trying to figure out which units go on the bottom. Is it the pounds or is it the grams? I want to get rid of pounds. To get rid of pounds, I'm going to take the whole left-hand side of my first equivalence and I'm going to put it in the bottom. So I'm going to put 1 pound on the bottom. And on the top, I'm going to put the whole right-hand side, the 454 grams on the top. Now I'm rewriting this equivalence like a fraction because I know that those two quantities are exactly the same. 454 grams is exactly the same weight as 1 pound. If you've got two quantities that are equal to one another and I divide them, it's the same as the number 1. Essentially, I'm just multiplying by the number 1. It would be the same as multiplying by 5 divided by 5, which would be equal to 1. Okay, so in this first step here, I can see that I'm canceling units. I've got pounds on the top and pounds in the bottom. And after step 1, I'm left with grams, and I'm right here in the middle of my strategy. Right next to this, I'm going to immediately set up step 2. And I want to do the second half of my conversion here. I want to go from grams to kilograms. I'm looking at my second equivalence here, and I need to decide which half goes on the bottom. I want to get rid of grams in step 2, and I want to get to kilograms. So I'm going to take the whole right-hand side here, and I'm going to keep it all together. 1 times 10 to the 3rd grams, and I'm going to put it in the bottom. In the top, I'm going to put the left-hand side, the 1 kilograms. This second parentheses represents my second conversion factor. My second step, I'm converting grams to kilograms. The grams cancel. And the only units that I'm left with here are kilograms, which is what I'm trying to find. I am ready to calculate this out. The thing I want to mention when you're doing your calculations for a unit conversion is that if a number is 1, you can ignore it. So I don't actually have to type those ones into my calculator. If a number appears in the top, like this 454 grams, I'm going to multiply. If a number appears in the bottom, like this 1 times 10 to the 3rd, I'm going to divide. So in my calculator, I'm going to type 182 times 454 divided by 1 times 10 to the 3rd. And I'm going to enter that number using scientific notation in my calculator. When I get my answer here, I want 3 significant figures because this number in front has 3 significant figures. I'm going to round my answer to 3 significant figures, and my answer with 3 significant figures was 82.6, and now my units here are kilograms. So this here is my answer, and this is the end of my 2-step problem for unit conversion. So I hope this video helps you as you look at converting units with more than one step and using metric prefixes.